By the way, I'm very proud of you for doing this. I love it.
Welcome, everyone, to Hanging Out with Mad Mimi. We are live here on a Wednesday at 4 p.m. You can join us every Wednesday at 4. Today, we have a really exciting guest that we are so pleased to join us. I'm Mira.
I'm Becca.
And this is MamaRed Knight.
Hey, everybody.
Hi.
Hello.
We're so glad you could join us. Thank you so much. If anybody is watching on our Google Hangouts event page, there should be a Q&A button up in the corner of your screen, and you can click there and send us all of your questions. If you want to ask me or Rebecca or MamaRed or even Mimi, because we have her with us today too.
Hello, Mimi.
And so if you have a question for Mimi, please send it on. So we're gonna get started. Right. I lost my place. It's cool. It happened.
I'll start. So, hi, MamaRed. Thank you for.
Hey, darling. How are you?
Good. I would love to get just like a sort of an idea of. You have this very long, awesome history, and I sort of would love to hear a bit about your background and sort of how you ended up doing what you do. I guess if that's a simple enough question.
Oh, I can do that. Believe me, not a problem. I actually started out in what nobody today would recognize as a technology field, but I started out in the 70s.
Wow.
And, that was before dirt was invented, says my son. And I literally, my first piece of equipment that I taught myself and learned was a huge bookkeeping machine where you had to like roll in this stuff, and I had to do payroll. And oh, by the way, the payroll was for construction people, and they were coming on Friday, and I got word at 3 o'clock in the afternoon that my dad wanted me to do this.
Wow.
That was my first experience and exposure to anything like equipment-wise, and that kind of stuff. So I actually started in the 70s, and in the 80s, I convinced, I was looking for the word, I have a bad mouth if I'm not careful. I convinced a consulting firm to bring me on as a consultant based on the internship I'd done in college. I was a marketing major with a marketing research minor. And I ended up doing things that the technologists there at the company, which was Dow Chemical, said couldn't be done. And wow. So I ended up putting that on my resume, became a consultant, and in '88, I opened my own company. And at the time, I had absolutely no clue what I was going to do, who I was going to do it for, how to charge, or how to do a proposal. All I knew is I had a very, very sick son, and I wanted to stay home, but I couldn't stand to not work. So that's when I started my first business, which evolved into a company called Simply Written. And I used to go in and explain computers.
Wow.
And I would write, I did training, I did tech support, I did manuals, I learned the software and went and trained it. And so that's how I kind of started my own business. And that evolved into being a consultant for very large corporations doing what is, I now have fun with. It had a very formal name because I was in the corporate world and we had that formal names and we didn't have things like Mad Mimi. We had, Intel Corporation. And I went to work doing what was called single sourcing. And my job was to look at how I could find the patterns in content, and we could use technology to publish content. And that's how I came up with the Content Beastie model. And so I've spent a lot of time doing that. And on the personal side, I started in '92 on a personal development quest. And so have been learning a lot about personal development, and in fact freaked the heck out of people to find out that in my mid-40s I got 7 tattoos.
Wow. That is so cool.
Yeah, I actually have 7 tattoos. My first one I got when I was 44, and people always assume you got them when you were really young. No, I waited until I was an old fart and got them. So
can you I mean, I don't want to overstep any bounds and ask you to show us any, but can you tell us what they are and what was behind that decision to
Actually, if you didn't have the lower third up, you could see one of them because it's like right here. But the lower third is covering it. I actually got my first tattoo tattoo, never had thought about having a tattoo, went on a trip with a friend. And he said, let's go to this place called blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, what's that? And he said, tattoo shop. And I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. Why not? Walked in, and I thought all tattoos were like, you know, skulls and crossbones and like nasty people on motorcycles. And I ended up getting my first one, which is a Native American princess, and she's on my left shoulder, and I have a Native American warrior on my right shoulder, and I have a dream in the middle, like right, you know, like down the middle of my spine. I have a right above my wrist. I have an arrowhead, and it stands for piercing my heart to open it so that I love again. And then I also have a butterfly, and I have for transformation, and I have a red rose for love. And the seventh one, in case you were counting, that was only 6. I have the 7th one is on my ankle, and it is the only one I got that was not part of my spiritual journey. It is the only one that got infected, and it's the only one that I had to have re-inked and that I never finished.
I don't blame you. That sounds painful.
Now, if you just want to hear a total side note that has nothing to do with email marketing or found at Beasties, try dating in your late 40s for men that think that tattoos are the, you know, evil. Now, I never dreamed that all the guys that I was hoping I'd go out with would go, oh, I don't want to date you because you have tattoos. True.
That's so cool.
Wow, that is really cool. Thank you for sharing that with us.
So now you know one of the other oddball things about me, besides the fact that my first job was construction cleaning condos.
Yeah, I mean, I think your whole story is always, I mean, it's impressive. I don't think there's any other word for it, and I'm so glad that you've you know, elected to share it with us today.
Oh, thank you. I made a commitment. In 2010, I had a surgery that I didn't want to live from, and I was hoping I wouldn't, and was very, very dangerous, and the thought was I might not make it. And when I did, I was angry for 6 months. I was like, this is really a pisser. I don't want to be here. And at the end of 6 months, I looked down and realized I was breathing because, you know, the chest was going up and down, and I had air. And I said then that I will share whatever part of my story that may help somebody else in whatever way. Because before that, I never told personal stories because I didn't think they mattered. And so you caught me at the other end of that journey where I'm willing to share.
Well, we benefit from it, for sure.
Yeah.
You didn't know when you were doing all those tech support emails for me what was going on the other end, did you?
Right. No, so MamaRed, you are a longtime memeer. You've been part of our family for a while, and so we know you in that context. But I was wondering if you could share maybe a little bit about how you came to Mad Mimi, or the role that Mad Mimi plays in the work that you do today.
Sure. Oh, happy to. I actually found Mad Mimi on the bottom of an email. I have a habit because I'm like a tools collector. People call me a tools freak. I'm always looking, oh, what did they do that with? Or how'd they do that? Or I wonder what they did that with. And again, it's that thing that I don't think was actually on tape where I said my mission in the world is to get voices heard, messages shared, and the world transformed. And so part of that is this technology thing, this, you know, email stuff, webinars, Google Hangout, all that stuff drives people. And so I was reading an email from what I call one of the big gurus, and it had Mad Mimi on the bottom. I thought, well, who the hell names the company Mad Mimi? This is cool. So I clicked the link, went over, and was totally entranced. The minute I saw Mad Mimi, hold her up, darling. Remind people who Mad Mimi is. Hold her up. And I was totally entranced. Yep, there she is, my girl. I call her the Divine Ms. MM.
There she is.
Hey, darling. And I looked at the company, I looked at the name, and so the first thing was, you know, when you have a character like that, that really flies up my alley and who I am as a person and as a business. And then I think the first time I had a question, I was hooked. I was just totally flipping hooked. I hadn't bought yet. I hadn't given you guys a nickel. I was still using the free version. Never expected to get an answer, and had it within an hour. Was stunned. totally stunned.
Oh,
And I base my choice of what I recommend and who I recommend on their customer service. And although maybe isn't necessarily always right for every client because, maybe they need a CRM or, something like that is not part of it, my first choice always for an email tool is Mad Meeting. Because, first of all, you guys are just friggin' adorable. How can you miss? Second of all,
oh, shucks.
for a company that, has free versions of the answer questions, I've converted some people to Mad Mimi, and they've loved her. Now, I have pushed Mad Mimi. I hear a rumor that I push her harder than most people do. I've had the blessing to talk to Dean before, and he's helped me work out special things to make it work, because he says, I've just never quite seen anybody push her like you do. But that's partially because my mind thinks like a database. So I'm always looking for, could I do a drop-down list? Oh, cool, And so when I chose on multiple levels to stay with Mad Mimi, even when there were things that I couldn't automate, which is one of my things to do, because the tech support beats almost anything I've had, and you're right up there with Zappos. So that's it.
Woo! Oh, thanks. You mentioned some automation, and I know you do a lot of that kind of thing. How do drip emails and automated emails factor into your sending process?
Actually, if I can automate it, I like to, so that you have time for the personal touch. And so I started out, my first drip campaign was 52 drips long. I converted it all over from another platform, and it just plugs along like little choo-choo doing its thing. And so the fact, what I like about Mad Mimi is a blend. First of all, you guys are the number one draw for me. Your price structure, in my opinion, for the features you get, is like shit-kicking awesome. Thirdly, the ability to brand it so it matches what you're doing. You have a color palette that's endless. You have that, and they always look nice. No, I'm not going to do fancy, like run around videos in Mad Mimi. Frankly, that's not very readable. So the one thing I always get when I send emails, whether it's a group campaign, a one-off campaign, I was sending the instructions on how to get on my webinar last night. I always get your emails just always look so good. And I think
because you make them.
Because that's pardon?
It's because you make them, so they have your touch too.
Well, thank you. One thing I saw one time that really honked me off, because there was some comparison that I was looking at, between this tool and this tool and this tool and this tool, and it was like something about limited templates. And I thought, what? What do you mean limited templates? My backside, the only thing limited, if you want to do that, would be, you can put your image left to right or something like that. But they were implying that, you couldn't make it branded to what you did. It was these templates. And I'm sitting there looking at the template thing going, have they been in this software? Have they seen inside it? And the other piece of what I like is the fact that as a company, you guys seem to really take your client questions seriously. I like that I get honest answers. No, we can't do that. And I'll check with the developers, but I don't know that that's even on the list. I'd rather know that. And so,
yeah,
that's important to me. And the emails that I send out, I actually do a mixture. Sometimes I do branded ones, that have my colors. And since I'm like constantly evolving and changing my colors and getting bored and doing a different header, if you guys were to look into my account, there's like, a whole bunch of different headers for things, is that I can change it easily. I can find the graphics. I can scroll back through. I think I've been with you guys like 5 years now. But pricing-wise, for what I get, like unlimited mailings, really? Seriously, who does that besides the divine Ms. Emmett? So, yeah, I'm an addict, but I want people listening to this to understand something. I got into internet marketing in 2007. when I decided to leave corporate consulting and I was going to be an inspirational speaker, and the life kept going. And so I started studying this thing called internet marketing. And one of the first things they teach you to do to build a business is to do what's called affiliate marketing, or to get somebody else's product, fill it, and everything else. Everything I looked at was crap, and I just simply could not put my name on it. I don't often directly give affiliate links to anything. I have 3 tools that I ever give affiliate links to, and one person whose work I admire so much that I use it for his. And it's not because I'm better than or anything else. It's just that when I recommend something, I want it to be something that helps people and makes, and I have a specific reason for developing it and sharing it. And Dean knows this, where I'll say, you know what, I'd really like this person to do XYZ, but they really are at this level. They need the CRM, they need the automation, And he says, I know, huh? So I want people that are watching to understand this is not them asking me to say this. I was asked to be an affiliate long after I've been using it, and I recommended it all the time. I don't know who uses it, who doesn't, but I do know that it's on my list.
So that's amazing. And so we've covered a lot about Mad Mimi, but you mention these things called the Beasties a lot. I'm wondering if any of these things that you don't support or what they are. Can you just tell us about the Beasties and what they are?
How I came up with the name the Beasties is, if you haven't already figured out, my language is a little bit colorful. And once I get worked up, I kind of get going and get excited. And I was talking to somebody one night. She was this amazing person with an amazing message. And she hated technology because she says, all I want to do is, I think in her case, she might have been a coach. And she goes, I love that part. This other stuff is driving me crazy. I said, yeah, those Beasties are a real pain on the ass, aren't they? Busted out laughing. Sorry, I've got a hair in my glasses. She busted out laughing, and I thought, that's pretty much true, because all of us have our Beasties. We have the tech Beastie, or we have the email Beastie, or we have the, I have one called the back-end Beastie, which is all that behind-the-scenes stuff. And I have one of my brand products is called the Sexy Back-End Business, and that's the back-end Beastie. All those things that go on behind the scenes, that when somebody said, oh, you can own your own business, honey, everybody can have a business. All you have to do is get on the internet, and you got a business. Have you checked out the technologies challenges lately? So there are all those things that keep us from doing what we like, and sometimes there are mindset Beasties, where our mind is going, yeah, right, sure, like you can have a business. What makes you think you're good enough to have a business? Blondes can't do that, So it's those things that keep us from doing what we like. It's the things that are our challenges if we're being politically correct. And I have a really great time with 4 kind of high-level groups of Beasties. One is the back-end one, and I have a rule. If I do something 3 times, I'm going to look for a way to make technology handle it, if at all possible. So I work on systems, processes, and unsexy back-end stuff. The content Beastie is where the name actually started, and the reason is because if you look at it, content is everywhere, and every business is in the content business. Mad Mimi's in the content business. Mm-hmm. What are we doing right now? Content. What's your content? What's your Facebook post? Content. So we all have these million and one places to put our content and create content, and I'm using the background I had in corporate America doing what was called single sourcing for authors, speakers, coaches, small business owners, so that content Beastie doesn't take quite a bite out of their backside. Mm-hmm. And my other 2 are the tech Beastie. Not that I know all the tech, but I'm really, really good at evaluating it and saying, I don't care how cheap that one is, don't be going there. And the 4th one is the mindset, because the mindset is what makes everything else possible.
Yeah, that's a big one, for sure.
It'll kick your baby if you don't manage that one.
What would you say, as somebody who's just starting out, I feel like you have a really good grasp of sort of how to handle things and how to pick what's important and what isn't. If somebody is just sort of getting started, building their own company maybe, or starting to get into web marketing, do you have some advice for someone on how to take their own Beasties in different ways, or which ones to focus on maybe?
You did not just ask my opinion, did you?
Oh, yeah.
If I could roll back time, and my son and I used to have this thing called, can I have a do-over? And if I could have a do-over, I would sit down and I would answer a whole bunch of questions before I did jack squat with any. And that would be questions like, who do you want to work with? What do you want to share? What are your strengths? You know, I mean, you see all this stuff, oh my God, you have to do Google Hangouts? What do you hate? And just for the record, you all are the first people to ever get me on camera on a Hangout.
Woo!
Ever. I don't usually be on camera. What I would say is if you are starting out, ask the key questions. Think about it like having a really great meal. You know, if you were going to have Thanksgiving dinner, you would ask, who are you going to invite? What are you going to serve? What tools do you already have in the kitchen? You know, you already have a spatula? Great. Don't go buy a new one. So
Right.
I would say to somebody, what do you already have? So answer what I call the right questions first. That's that who, what, where, why, when. Don't buy any technology, including my beloved Mad Mimi, or any of it, until you've answered those questions, at least at the top level. Second of all, start with the basics. If you could do nothing else, and you could go on to a tool like one of these pre-done websites, it's not where I think you ought to end up, but get one page up that has an opt-in box and start getting people connected with you. One of the biggest mistakes I made was I wanted my website to be so perfect because I'd seen all these big websites that had evolved over years, and they had, 50-page manifestos as their downloads and stuff, and I didn't launch it all. So find one thing you already know after you've answered the questions and start there. But the thing, please, 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 make sure that I don't care if you don't have a bloody thing to offer in terms of a product. Make sure you have an opt-in box on that home page of your site. The second thing I would tell people is make sure that you buy your name. I don't care what you're going to name your company. Whatever. When you are getting started, the probability is you will diddle away a whole bunch of time trying to name your company and only decide you don't want it named that. And people will know you. People may not know this, but they'll know this name. So even if you don't know what you want to name your company, get your URL, get your address for that, and put up a one-pager. There's a great tool called Lead Pages that you can literally do a one-pager and not even have to own the URL yet. It's worth the money to do it.
Nice. Take your claim, yeah.
Exactly. And the thing is, there's a really, I can't remember. Let me see if I can do this by memory. There is a tool called NameCheck, and I believe it's NameChk.com. And when you go there, you can type in the name, like I could type in MamaRed, and it will tell you hundreds of platforms where that name either is available or not available.
Oh, great.
And the one thing I want you to do, if you're just starting out, and if you're not, and you've been at it for a while, go secure the names for everything that you can get. Because when you start building, you want to have that coherence so that when people go looking for you, they find you by that name. And don't worry, I had a guy argue with me one day about, I said the same thing, go by the name. Well, I'm in the process of renaming my company. I said, I don't care. Buy your name, put your stuff up there first. Oh no, I can't do that. I'm like, what part of I've been at this for 30 years and screwed up things at least 10 times each are you not getting? He was in a personal business, where people would remember his name. I said, we can always forward your website, please.
Yeah.
The other thing is, what you're good at, leverage. If you speak well, Get on video, record things, pop it into your iPhone, whatever. Don't listen to this horse crap about what the latest trend is. Pick what you're good at, or you'll never get it out there. And I know.
Because you've done it.
Oh, honey, if it's been, as I say, if it's been done wrong, I've probably done it at least a dozen times. I got this red hair thing going. I'm a little stubborn. What I tell people is do what I tell you. What was that old saying when I grew up? Do as I say, not as I do. Yeah. Do as I say, not as I did.
Awesome.
Been there, done that.
That's one of the things that I think makes Mad Mimi such an amazing tool, because the one thing I tell people is do not use free versions of email tools. Now, people argue with me about that, but I think that it's an important piece of your business, and you're going to hobble yourself if you don't budget for that one. And that's where Mad Mimi is such a power. It makes you not have to give up too many Starbucks coffees.
We're a lifestyle company.
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go. I mean, really. And they are, folks, in case you don't know, they are a lifestyle company. It's awesome. Hey, baby. Is that what you wanted, or did I forget anything?
No, that was excellent. It was own your own name, leverage what you know, and get a page and start making content.
Yeah.
I think if I summarize that, okay.
Thank you very much. And since I talk off the top of my head, I don't remember what I said 2 seconds after it's out of my mouth. And one of the facts, since every business is in the content business, it's one of the places that so many people struggle. And one of the easiest things you can do is to start with what I call the tips model. What are 3, 10, 21 tips that you know how to do on something? And every one of us knows them.
Everyone's got one thing at least, yeah.
Exactly. Use those tips to start building your content library, if you will, because if you think about it like a kitchen, if you go into your kitchen, unless you are a total I eat out all the time, or I make everything in the microwave, you can look at a spice cabinet and you're going to see your cinnamon and all these things are separate. Those little tips can grow into be an absolute content kitchen worth of stuff that you can share with people and serve up to people. And it's a lot easier to say, I'm going to write a tip while I'm in line, at the coffee shop to get my morning coffee, than to say, well, I got to write a book. I really should write a book. Somebody told me I should write a book. And, I was talking to a guy who had an amazing, amazing message. And he was recovering from alcohol and substance abuse. And he lost 9 years of being with his family, because of this addiction. And he had been told, like so many are, write a book. I call it the write a book mantra. Write a book, write a book, write a book, book, book. And you could just feel that he was drowning in this, because he wasn't a writer.
Mm-hmm.
Do that. Don't do that. I said, do you have 21 tips for the person that's just starting to, come out of this thing? He goes, oh, I can do that.
There you go.
So you can write your whole book, one tip at a time. You could, my very first autoresponder in Mad Mimi was 52 ways to ripple kindness around the world, and I had one a week. So
nice.
There are a million ways, and one of the things that I believe autoresponders really help, and the drip campaigns that you guys have, is you can build it as long as you stay like one drip ahead of the person. You can build it as you go, and that's actually, I have a book called Kindness Ripples, 52 no-cost ways to ripple kindness around the world, and I built it from the autoresponders and the drip campaign.
Oh, very good.
So, you guys remember in my account, it's in there. I haven't promoted it in years, so. But that's, when I talk about the Beasties, my vision for people is that I can find you the next doable step that helps you towards what you're doing. But the thing it really starts with, and that was what my call was on last night, was why know your why. Because those are the big questions that if you answer them, you'll know whether to get this tool or that guru or go to India or, whatever. And with the way things are today, there are so many opportunities that it's almost overwhelming.
Yeah.
And there isn't the go to college, get a degree, get your MRS degree, and get done. Oh, and get your watch after 30 years. So
right.
there's some choices.
I think that's one of the things that you do really excellently, though, for people is that because it's not so cut and dry, that there's a myriad of tools out there. You know, just because of the fact that you will only use things that you like and you only support things that are helpful, you can understand what all these tools are and then help people do those little baby steps. That is, don't write a book, just make 20 tips, and that's all, and move on from there. So I think that's something that you seem to do really excellently for people.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's funny because I joke with people because they said, "Well, can I buy your book?" And I said, "Well, if I never finish it, yeah."
Like you can have my drug campaign.
What'd you say?
Oh, I would say you can have my drip campaign, but not my book.
No, that's it. Just sign up over here and get your drip campaign. And that's the thing. It's really funny because you find this a lot in the consulting and coaching and that kind of stuff. Is we find it easier to do this for others because we get stuck behind the same problems that our clients do. So I've got a client and I'm like, okay, your list for this week. It's all broken down. It's got a deadline. It's got all this kind of stuff, which is great. And then I sit down and go, well, am I going to use lead pages, or am I going to come through this website, or maybe I ought to. Well, I probably ought to do a video. Oh hell! I think I'm just going to go have coffee and sit on the back porch. Forget all this.
It happens.
It's much easier. It's much easier. But have you ever met a hairdresser who couldn't do hair or whose hair looked like really crappy? It's because she's taking time to do everybody else's hair, not hers.
Yeah.
Or the old joke, but you guys are probably too young, was the shoemaker's son has no shoes.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, if I have my way for the world, it will be filled with loving kindness. It will be filled with people like you guys at Mad Mimi that I dearly adore, because it's how we have a world worth having. And right now, technology plays a role in how we get our message from here to there.
It definitely does.
I told somebody one time if we were still using smoke signals, I would learn those and then teach you how to do them, because that would be how you get your message out, and that's all I care about.
It's true, and it's great that we're in a time where we can all do that. Everybody on every level, business-wise, can really do a lot of their own stuff, and they can do it pretty simply and really get their message out there. And I love that that's what you do for people. It's pretty awesome.
Well, and it's like I don't use Instagram just because I actually, for all the technology I do, don't thing. But can you think about all the stuff that's on Instagram now? Holy Christ! It's just amazing. It's just amazing. So, did I cover what you wanted me to cover for the show?
I think we're pretty set. Is there any? I don't think we have any questions in our little Q&A, but if somebody wants to ask a question, you're more than welcome. But I think we're pretty set. Do you have anything else you wanted to mention? Do you have any other special little tidbits or anything?
The thing I would say is build. When I teach people, what I say is I don't think starting with a 5-course meal for the Queen of England is the best first meal to cook. How about we start with a snack? And so one of the things we forget, and I'm just as guilty because I've hung around with some really prolific, high-powered coaches and speakers and stuff. They have these massive websites. And you forget that they've been growing them for years. And so wherever you are, take that next doable step. But make sure when you do, you understand why you're doing it. Whether that's because you want to make a gazillion bucks or you want to help the starving children in a country. When you know that, it drives all the other decisions. But find that one step that helps you go forward, because that one step will naturally help propel you to the next person or thing that will help you grow more.
Beautiful. I love it. I think that's a good place to leave it. Thank you so much, MamaRed, for being here. This was awesome. You're so cool.
Oh, thank you. You're going to make me blush, and I got pale skin anyway. Thank you for having me. It was such a blast, and if there's anything I can do to support you, please let me know.
Certainly. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We are here every Wednesday at 4 Eastern. If you have any questions, feel free to email us, and we'll see you next week. Bye.